Today on Time We Discuss, I have Aaron Ryan with me. Aaron, welcome to Time We Discuss.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Aaron, you're an author. You've written and published, I believe, 10, 15 books, something in that range. You have an extensive history. I was looking at your website, some customer service work, I don't have it in front of me anymore. But I remember there's a list of maybe about a dozen or different things you've done in your past and ultimately ended up in writing. So Aaron, I really want to focus on that. As a writer, what's a typical day like for you?
That's a really good question. So when you talk about careers, and so I've done a billion things, and some of them have just been by necessity. Some of them I couldn't find anything else to do, but those are all occupations working for someone else's dream. I am totally just like through and through a self-made guy, entrepreneur, sole proprietor, work from home guy. I just never want to work for anyone else's dream again. So I think you really have to be very disciplined when you work from home because there is no on switch and there is no off switch. This was my best friend until I got this. And so, you live and die by outlook. You live and die by communication because those emails that come in, they're an inquiry from a potential customer. I'm a voiceover artist. They could be a mortgage paying audition that I might need to act on. So it really is kind of like a doctor with a pager all day long. But that's during the confines of an on and off time that I've set and I stick really close to. 9 a.m. on, 5 p.m. off. I have a wife and kids, 9 a.m. on, 5 p.m. off. And there's times in the middle of that too where I got to go get the kiddo from the bus stop. So that's 3. So I got to take that break and then come back in. You have to be disciplined.
So that's a good point too. Just thinking this off the top of my head, what happens when you're in the middle of doing something and you're in the zone, okay? And I've had a creative past, so I can kind of get that. When you're in the zone, like nothing matters. I mean, you don't get hungry. At least I don't. I don't get hungry, thirsty. I'm in the zone. I am super
Yeah,
focused.
yeah.
What happens when you are in that zone and it's 3:02 and you need to quick get up, get the kids set from the bus, and then come back and try to get into the zone? What's that like for you?
Well, I mean, we can. What he fed for himself. We've got another kid, so it's fine. We've got a backup. No, I'm kidding. Uh, I will abandon everything. I mean, I'm fiercely allegiant to my kids. I love my kids, and I will do bend over backward for them. When they are here, for example, though, so you can't really see it, but this right here is a door, and this is my 880 square foot shop that we converted. So this third is my office. That third over there, 2/3 rather, is my math was off. Uh, is playroom slash exercise room. And sometimes the kids after school, mama's not home. So they're out there, watching some YouTube clips or, a Pixar video, whatever. And they come in and I'm like, not right now. Okay, I can't, give me a few minutes. I can't. And if they come in again a second time after I've already told them that, uh, I have to be really careful and be loving and gentle remonstrance and say, buddy, I want to talk to you, but I have to finish this right now. Thankfully, they're good sports with that. They don't go, fine. My world is ending and they're running in tears. They're pretty good sports, but it is hard to balance when they're right here.
So my day job when I was sometimes work from home during the week, and other times I'd be in the office other times. And I remember when the kids were really young, there was like that sweet spot where I could work from home, everything would be fine. I might have to get up, feed them or whatever. But then as they got just a little bit older, they didn't quite understand that I was working and what work meant, and like I needed to be left to my own devices here. And then
Yeah.
once they got past that, they get another couple years older, then they finally get it. So I can relate to what you're saying there, and having the kids come in.
I have an 8-year-old who is incredibly creative. I mean, I have no idea where he gets it. It's got to be DNA and genetic because it's just passed down. I have to create. That's why, like, you see the list of different jobs there, but I've been a musician and a singer. I've performed live, my own music. I'm a voiceover artist. I'm an author. I'm a poet. I'm a dancer. No, I'm kidding. So all of these different things. And my son is he got a huge dose of that. So he will come in frequently with a craft or something that he's made. And I'm so impressed. But buddy, you already showed me. I'll be impressed again in a half hour when I'm done with this. Go stay out there, please. So he's like, it's kind of a wrestling match a little bit, but again, thankfully he's a good sport.
So when it comes to your writing, where do you get most of your inspiration? Is it just in the world around you? Any random thing? What do you do to be inspired?
I am, as an author, specifically, I'm so visual, so I'm largely inspired by movies, whereas many authors are inspired by other authors or other works of fiction or nonfiction, whatever it is. I wrote this trilogy. It's the Dissonance Sci-Fi Alien Invasion trilogy because I have, my favorite movie of all time is Aliens by James Cameron. There really is no other movie when you put that one in the mix, and except for Lord of the Rings. But uh, so I'm inspired visually to create those there. But what I'm finding, I finished the trilogy. I'm now back and I'm writing the prequel, and it's before the aliens came. I have to inject a lot of family and actual family life and silly dialogue and play with young kids. Wherever will I get the inspiration? So I channel a lot of me as a silly daddy into Andrew, the protagonist. Andrew's son is Cameron. He is the lead protagonist of the trilogy 23 years later, or 16 years later. And so my 8-year-old is his 7-year-old. My 5-year-old is his 3-year-old, and I'm channeling a lot of that in there. So that inspiration is again visual, more lived than visual, but it's really cool. It's been such a moving piece of fiction to work on because of that.
So why an alien invasion? I know you just said you have a lot of strong feelings towards the movie or the series of movies. Alien, Aliens. I don't know how many they made. I know there are quite a few of them. But why right now? Why Alien Invasion? What prompted you to say, you know what? I want to write a book about that. No, I want to write a trilogy about that.
Well, to be really clear and fair, it's my favorite movie of all time is Aliens, plural, James Cameron. Alien by itself, amazing. Aliens, James Cameron, oh. Alien 3, just downright sad, and Alien 4 is punishing and forgettable. Alien versus Predator, no, I don't like those either. But those aren't alien invasion trope or genre. Those are going, to their planet, except for Aliens versus Predator. That's going to their planet and, their solar system. I wasn't, honestly, wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go with this story when I first put pen to paper on November 21st last year. Uh, I wasn't sure. I needed something scary. I felt something compelling. The story is just organically grew far beyond my expectation, and they're terrifying. I wasn't sure what to call them at first. Initially, they were called druids, and they bore far too much of a resemblance between a cross between a Dementor in Harry Potter and a Nazgul in Lord of the Rings. And I just don't want to borrow that way. And so I had to completely rethink those and name them. And I thought, what terrified me as a kid, one of the things is the kind of Ray Harryhausen-esque claymation Medusa from 1981's Clash of the Titans. If you've seen that, it's an old movie, but it's such a good movie. And when Medusa locks onto Perseus's soldier who has fallen, he turns, and does a double take. She comes into view. She's in the shadows. She comes into view, and this high-pitched whine accompanies these glowing green eyes that are just, I remember when I was a kid, ah, and I ran out of the room. Um, that's still, I'm 51. That still resides right here and right here. So I wanted to write something terrifying, and they don't do the glowing eyes thing, but they are called gorgons because they do telepathically freeze you where you stand and consume you at their leisure. So it's horrible. They're terrible.
Once you started talking about that, that immediately brought me back. That is a fine film, and I as well like the Medusa character in mythology. I think is hands down one of the awesomest creatures, for lack of better words. I love Medusa, the concept of it, half body, half snake, snake hair, awesome.
Once you cross snake with anything, it's pretty much like the coolness factor just jumps.
That's so true. That's so true.
Snake, dolphin. Maybe there's exceptions.
So what kind of promotions do you have lined up for your upcoming trilogy? I was speaking with a children's book author several weeks ago, probably a month or two at this point. But she talked about going to like different events and promote. Now she does children's books, so she'll go to schools and promote. She'll bookstores maybe to promote there. What does promotion look like for you?
I'm not allowed in school with stuff like this. So that's part of it. So I run a lot of different promotions online, organic and paid, written word media, Book Barbarian, BookBub, the Fussy Librarian, there's lots of different promotions that you can run through different sources online, and those do help. I'm very organic social media inclined and posting those um posting content, videos, TikTok, blah, blah, blah. But one of my favorite things to do came from one of my unfavorite things to do. I used to be a wedding videographer, excuse me, and I'll never go back. But for a while that was our bread and butter. And I kind of got locked in, cornered into it, and then you just don't ever leave. It's a black hole, vortex, just sucks you in. And I got roped into wedding videography every weekend out of the year. It paid the bills and then some, but I'll never go back. But one thing I forgot that I loved to do so much as a wedding videographer was trade shows. And not book fairs, mind you. There's counsel that you'll receive from several people that say, don't do book fairs as an author. And it makes sense. You're competing for the attention, you're clamoring for everyone's attention as an author with all these other authors. And you're not unique in any way. So I've got the Strawberry Festival coming up. I've got the Kent Nerd Party on June 1st. I've got all kinds of farmers markets and trade shows and Olympia days coming up. Our summer is booked. I love having a big booth with a banner with, imagery from these and people coming and talking about this story that's become so dear to my heart. Whether or not they buy, that's out of my hands, but I just love talking about the story with them and the process behind it. That's the marketing that I like to do.
The books that you've written most recently, which age group are they geared towards?
So it's young adults, but young adults typically will read up. So it's 13 and up. I mean, there are some scenes that are there. These things are terrifying, and we live in a society. It's the alien invasion happened in 2026. The books are set in 2042, 16 years after, excuse me. Earth is overgrown. 85% of humanity's been killed off. So it's a ghost town and it's bleak and you're hiding. It's kind of scary when you do run into one of these things. Terror is around every corner. And so you have to, when I have friends who have kids, oh, I want to buy this for little Jimmy. And I'm going, okay, can you buy it for you and you read it first and then you see if Jimmy can handle it? There's also characters that have had to resort to barbaric means just to survive. And that can be a little traumatizing, but it just goes to illustrate 16 years after an alien invasion, we're still in dissonance. We're still not working together. We're still so just fragmented.
On your website, it talked about um, I don't know if I think it was a different book that you had was possibly getting made into a screenplay for film and going on to a platform. Is that what? Okay, so
Yeah.
talk to me about that. What's that process like right now for you?
Oh my gosh. If you had been a fly on the wall in the Zoom session that I just had yesterday with my screenwriter, he I'm getting chills just thinking about it. He sent me the screenplay. He has to come up with a teaser first. He sent me that teaser and I'm sitting here and it very closely mirrors the book. You can't fit everything in a book into a teaser or a TV show. So it's got to be encapsulated. But as I'm reading it, I'm just going like, I'm like, I can't believe it. I feel like a 12-year-old schoolgirl giggling. And I don't know why I switched genders there, but whatever. Uh, it's so exhilarating. He approached me, or his assistant approached me. I vetted him. Favorite movie of all time is Aliens, James Cameron. James Cameron's ex-wife is Gail Ann Hurd. Gail Ann Hurd put on a contest that my screenwriter was one of 5 winners in. So when I saw that name, Gail Ann Hurd, I was like, oh, he's legit. He's very kind. People have questioned, are you a legit screenwriter online in LinkedIn conversations? He's very kind, not returning evil for evil or arguing with people. But what it is he takes the book, and he reads the whole thing. Has me, we develop a character Bible. He develops a treatment that consolidates this into, this episodic treatment on, say, Netflix. We work through the organic development of the screenplay together. It takes about 16 weeks. We're on like week 2. And then he pitches it to producers with Netflix, Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus. And he made no promises. He said, I can't promise that someone will take it. I will promise you that someone will read it, because it's that good. And I never got the sense that he's flattering or just, kissing up to me. I know my story is good. I wrote it so, but I'm super excited to see what's going to materialize from this beyond words.
That's awesome. I can't even imagine the level of excitement that you must have right now. And if it does go to one of those platforms, just having that as well, that's just got to be unimaginable, at least for me.
I will not say if, when it hits the screen, and he feels it's better suited for something like Netflix because there's so much more engagement and community built around that rather than a one-off, screen viewing. But I'm going to be sitting there like, like the whole time. And I know what's going to happen. I helped him write the screenplay together because it's very collaborative. But oh boy, I'll be, schoolgirl again.
So let's go back in time briefly. So you talked about how there was a contest essentially, but how did you get connected with the screenwriter? Like how did they get your book and then kind of go from there? How did that pan out?
I don't actually know. I know that I was contacted by his assistant, Sarah. I got an email and I saw Act Two Media. And, there's so much in the authoring world, there are so many scammers. I admin a 32,000 member author group on Facebook. Rife. Ours is not, actually. I've done a lot of cleaning house and weeding out, and there are membership questions that they have to answer. You can tell right away if they're a scammer from Nigeria, and I've got great marketing services, blah blah blah. It's so annoying. It's like they're not even trying anymore. But I can recognize scammers, and I'm pretty cynical in that regard. So when I got that email, I was like, okay, let me look. And I looked, and okay. Gail Ann Hurd, okay. And I just yeah, I said I'm definitely interested. I did Google the average price for converting a book to a screenplay, and it was between here and here, and he was right here in the middle. So the price was expected. And I just said, look, I will be so remiss if 5 years from now I was to look back and go, I wonder what would have happened. I mean, in 2026, that's when the aliens invade anyway in here. So, I'll be in some corner in a shack crying quietly so they don't hear me and going, why didn't I have it made to a screenplay?
Shifting gears, let's talk about education. How has your educational background played into your role as an author?
Well, if I was just to say, I think I'm naturally smart. I was gifted some smarts. My kids, if they were right here, they'd go bragging. They just do that. I don't know why. But I did not go to college. I was graduated high school diploma. I did a quarter at Bellevue. It used to be called Bellevue Community College. Decided college wasn't for me. Again, I'm more of a self-made guy, and I have to pursue my own things. And I can look at my income predominantly just as a self-made entrepreneur with voiceovers and music and everything else, multimedia production that I've done since 2003. And it eclipses the income from colleagues and classmates who've gone on to college and ended up not using their college degree or whatever. I have to go back to my schooling, my mom and dad, who drove, not overdrove, but just drove the importance into me of doing well in school. And I wasn't an A student. I was a B, sometimes C student. My head was in the clouds. But I think I, for whatever reason, have a good balance of right brain creative, left brain business acumen, intelligence, organization, drive, and no one can give that to you. It's you have to either have it or develop it on your own.
I was speaking with all the, you know, it's funny when I first started doing these podcasts, I had a very clear memory of who was who and who said what, and it was so easy. But now that I'm speaking to more and more people, I feel like they're starting to kind of blend together a little bit. So speaking to one of my writers, she talked about writing. If you didn't go to school for writing, you'd probably be a better writer because you're writing about more of like what you know as opposed to what you were taught or taught how to write or something like that. I hope I'm paraphrasing that correctly. I don't want to go back and be like, oh, I got that completely wrong. But it kind of sounds like what you're saying. You know, you're writing about what you know, and that's really what you need, and that's what keeps it interesting.
Quite often, I get told by reviewers or friends who I see regularly, you know, they bought my book to support me, and they say it's a very easy read. They say that this and this are very easy reads. And that's encouraging to me because I know that I've been in fictional books, sci-fi or otherwise, fantasy, whatever, and you have to you find that you've read something and you know you're down 3 paragraphs and your brain is somewhere else. You go, wait, what? You know, you have to go back and just reread that again, and maybe you still don't get it. Whether it's just too far off fantastical names that are employed, or and speaking of names, I same thing. It used to be where I could remember every single client that I produced services for. And then after a while, I was like, I don't know. I don't remember who that was. And that's a good sign. It's me just means you're doing well.
I like that. I gotta remember that.
Yeah, it's complimentary. I just they're easy reads and I didn't go to school for it. It's just very natural. So
So that's right up my alley because I love easy reads. I'm right now I have a book that I'm working on. I've been working on it for a few months, just kind of picking it up in my spare time. And it's very dense and trying to get through it, kind of like what you're describing. You know, it's not uncommon. I go through a paragraph, you know, and I might get, you know, the brain starts to go somewhere and I gotta come back to it. And again, it's difficult. I like the easy reads. They're good for me with my busy life.
good. Yeah, I really enjoyed reading well, I already knew the story, the Hunger Games quadrilogy, and then I went and read the books after having seen the movies. So that lends itself to a little bit more of an ease of understanding because you're anticipating, you already kind of know where the story's going.
Yeah.
I did read the um what is her trilogy called? Marie Lu, the Legend trilogy. Ends up being a quadrilogy if you incorporate the last one. Great series, an easy read. It's dystopian, you know, future environment. But it was an easy read and it was very like can't put it down. I've been told the same thing, and that's really flattering. Grateful to hear that.
Let's go back to your very first book that you got published. What was that process like? How did that unfold for you?
So that was probably the voiceovers of Super Business and Super Life. I published that under a pseudonym, a stage name that I used to use for voiceovers, and that was in 2020. The process is fairly straightforward. Going through KDP, for example, they give you the templates for the cover design. They give you the templates, you know, sizes for your where your format of your book should be, and you choose your appropriate categories, your appropriate keywords. You set your pricing. You decide if you want to be enrolled in Kindle Unlimited, which is a 90-day obligatory period that you are stuck with Kindle and you can't go in expanded distribution like Barnes and Noble, for example, or any of those other places. It was pretty easy. It was illuminating, sure, but it one of the things I talk to a lot of authors, and one of the things that always kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit is why people shy away from self-publishing and they continue to knock their heads against the doors of big traditional publishers who are so selective, and then they get frustrated and they abandon all hope. Self-pub and they take forever to publish your book. Go the self-publishing route. It's way easier. Yes, you have to do your own marketing. Sure. But you're going to tell people about it anyway. You know, you just have to pay for it in some of these cases. But try it. It's way easier than the specter of it is in your mind.
It's that time of the show where I like to throw a completely random question at my guest. Has absolutely nothing to do with what you do for a living.
Okay.
So today, your random question. Invariably, we all have plans at one point to do something fun. It could be a road trip across the country, a vacation with friends and family, or visiting historical monuments. I want you to think about something that you had planned to do, something you were excited about doing because it was going to be a lot of fun. However, it was anything but fun. What would that be?
So my mom had a 40-year reunion or something like that at her foster high school in Tukwila, Washington. I served as the videographer for them. It was, 2 decades ago, whatever, and offered my services for free. So as a recompense, that's not the right word. As a remuneration, sorry, that's what I was looking for. They gave me they volunteered a few things. They just pitched in, and one of those things was a stay at a little, it's not an Airbnb, but it was a little cabin out in the woods off the Olympic Peninsula. So I'm thinking, oh, cool, that's fun. My cousin and I like to hike. We like to camp. This is, again, 2 decades ago. We like to hike and camp and blah, blah, blah. So I thought, cool, wow, that's very cool. So I said, Josh, you want to go out with me? We were going to go out here and stay. We got there, just unbelievable. The place was in absolute disrepair rather. It was of ill repute. I tried to fuse those. There was molded mustard in the fridge that things were growing out of. It looked like someone was recently there, so it wasn't cleaned. They had like a DVD player that didn't work, and we had brought some DVDs. It didn't work. Massive spider in the house, and I am petrified of spiders, arachnophobia. And then you go out and we're like, okay, striking out really hard so far. And we're like, we're gonna get axe murdered here. It's a fact, and we have to accept that. The sooner we accept that, the sooner we'll be at peace. We decided to go outside, and I literally like walked right through a spider web with the spider on my face. And so we decided we're not staying here. So this gift I was given turned out to be a horrible, horrible thank you for volunteering my services. Um, we made a funny video of just like the day that turned to crap, I think is what we called it. And that literally was what what it was. It was awful, just awful.
Aaron, is it possible you did a lousy job videographing? No, I'm kidding.
Ooh, that's a really good question. I never thought of it that way. No.
I love it. I love the story. That's beautiful. Aaron, I would also like to extend you the courtesy. And whenever I'm speaking with someone, I do like to give the person the opportunity to speak about a cause they believe in, a project they're working on. So if there's something you'd like to talk about, the floor is yours.
Well, two things. We give to St. Jude's. We have a friend who had a 3-year-old daughter who died from DIPG. It's an inoperable brain tumor, and she passed away at 3 years old. We have a beloved dog that we lost, a few years ago. It wasn't even 5 years old, to lymphoma. So cancer, that resonates. My dad had prostate cancer. He's survived and he's fine. Mom had breast cancer. She survived and she's fine. But it's everywhere. So St. Jude's, worthy cause, especially for the kids. Um, the project I'm working on is, there are people who die in my trilogy. I hate playing God in that regard, but you have to advance the urgency and the purpose of the protagonist through catalysts such as the death of familiars. It's kind of like anyway, there's all kinds of parallels. Whatever. Um, so I finished my trilogy. It's all done. It's out there, but I didn't feel released from it yet. And there's so much backstory that I put in the trilogy that I thought, well, the alien invasion happened in 2026. The books are set in 2042. I'll go back and write a prequel for when that alien invasion happened. It has been so rich to see people alive again who I had killed off, and they're young and they're healthy, and it's just like, oh, it's been such a rewarding project. And it is called Dissonance Volume 0 Revelation. So it's before the 1, 2, and 3. Both are very dear to my heart right now.
That's good information. St. Jude as well. Like we have some personal experience there within our family, so I can definitely relate to what you're saying there. They're a fantastic organization. And we'll make sure that I get all those links from you for your books and everything. We'll throw that in the show notes so people can easily access your information. We'll throw a link for St. Jude in there as well. That'd be great. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today on Time We Discuss and learning about what it's like to be an author.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love it.
Thanks for popping in the studio. My name is Dan, and this is Time We Discuss. I really enjoyed speaking with Aaron today, and I hope you enjoyed the time too. Make sure you check the links in the description to learn more. If there's a profession that you want me to cover, add a comment, and I'll find that person for you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. That'll do it. See you next time on Time We Discuss.